Super Bowl 55 is in the books, and the Broncos are still the only AFC West team to have won back-to-back world championships. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another edition of Broncos Beat. I'm Alexis Perry, joined today by Super Bowl 50 champion Ryan Harris, 9 News Broncos insider Mike Klis, and former Broncos safety Nick Ferguson. Guys, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hoisted the hardware on their home turf Sunday night after an outstanding performance against the Kansas City Chiefs. So comparing your expectations for Super Bowl 55 and the reality of how it all unfolded, is it safe to say that that game did not live up to your expectations?
Well, it lived definitely up to my expectations. I told this to Ryan and Rod Smith yesterday. You know, while offense wins games, defense still wins championship. And it was going to be about that pass rush from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Vita Vea, and Ndamukong Suh, JPP, and Denver's own Shaq Barrett. Those guys showed out at home and put an immense amount of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. I've never seen a quarterback in a Super Bowl run as much as Patrick Mahomes did yesterday, but what he did display was even when he was on the move, he still had that strong arm and he still had accuracy.
I agree with you, Nick, that defense usually beats offense, except for last year. And I was I thought the 49ers had the better defense on the Chiefs, but Patrick Mahomes was the difference. He single-handedly won that Super Bowl for the Chiefs. So I thought there was a chance, when Eric Fisher went down for the Chiefs, just like Bakhtiari went down 2 weeks ago with the Packers, that was going to be a big factor. And it was the Tampa Bay defense against if you'll pardon me a little bit, backup Chiefs line, the JV offensive line that the Chiefs had out there against them. That was the biggest mismatch going into that game. I still thought it was going to be more of a competitive game, and I think it could have been. Chiefs just were. Kelsey was dropping the ball. Tyreek Hill had you got to make plays. Yeah. Chiefs didn't have it yesterday.
Well, one of the reasons that no one's talking about, the Chiefs got there on Saturday. I'm not sure getting to the Super Bowl the day before really gives you a moment to take in. I know when we went to Santa Clara, taking in the field, just smelling and seeing that paint, knowing what side your bench is on, arriving a day earlier for the biggest game of the year, I'm not sure we didn't see those effects. And Mike talked about the offensive line mismatch. But let's not take credit away from Tom Brady. He went 21 of 29 with 3 touchdowns. It was a marvelous display of quarterback accuracy and decision-making. And then, oh, by the way, the old retiree Rob Gronkowski getting 2 touchdowns. That's awesome to see as well.
You guys, for the Broncos, the Chiefs will be the team to beat for the next decade or so. And last night, like you guys have mentioned, the Bucs had a fantastic game plan and the personnel to match, and subsequently provided a blueprint for how teams can beat the Chiefs. So what weaknesses did you see the Bucs expose that the Broncos can try to exploit within the Chiefs next year?
Well, the biggest part, starting with the defense, I'm going to start at the second level, was the linebackers. Yep. I mean, the Broncos have 2 linebackers. I mean, they're great run stuffers, but they're not great in pass coverage. And you look at Levante David, who's in fact, he will be a free agent, so the Broncos should definitely go after him. And Devin White, they did a great job running from side to sideline, chasing down the run. But most importantly, what they did to Travis Kelce, most teams didn't do all season long, and that was disrupt the timing and the rhythm. And in the second half, Todd Bowles decided, you know what? It's enough of Travis Kelce catching the ball, just sitting down in the zone. He decided to roll Devin White down and just kind of follow him throughout the field. And that led to a lot of drop passes and Patrick Mahomes deciding to go to other directions. So if you're the Denver Broncos, you're looking at edge pressure and linebacker play moving forward.
Yeah, it just kind of shows that the NFL sometimes is a game of attrition. The Chiefs, the Chiefs' offensive line in the beginning of the season, when the Broncos played them in Week 6, wasn't what it was in the Super Bowl yesterday against Shaq Barrett, who, by the way, is not with the Broncos. I think Bronco country just reminded again, Shaq Barrett is no longer theirs. Von Miller wasn't there this year. You got to stay healthy. You got to have your full complement in order to beat the Chiefs. That's for sure. But I do think that Patrick Mahomes does have a tendency, as great as he is, he drifts awfully far from the pocket. And Ryan, as a left tackle, right tackle, sometimes drifting out that far isn't what an offensive tackle. So that is a habit that he has. And I think it hurt him a little bit yesterday, even though he does have the arm to compensate.
Yeah, his toe was definitely hurting him as well. I had to have turf toe surgery, and that's a rough injury. They said on the broadcast he'll need surgery moving forward. So that's gonna hamper him, and it did in the game. But one of the things that the blueprint wise, what Tampa Bay did in addition to the linebacking core, I mean, Devin White was so incredible. He never lost ground while thinking. But also they rotated to mitigate the motion that the Chiefs love to use. They did the best job, I thought, all year long of rotating down a safety when Tyreek Hill's trying to outflank his man-to-man defender and just switching that coverage. That was a huge change that I believe we'll see teams do moving forward.
Really quick before we go to break, there have been so many Super Bowls that just showcase the greatest quarterbacks of the game. And last night was somewhat dubbed as the current GOAT going up against the future GOAT. So did that game last night put the Broncos quarterback situation even further under the microscope, Nick?
Absolutely, it did. I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes who's going to be more inspired returning for the 2021 season. Now you have, the Las Vegas Raiders looking to go get a guy like Deshaun Watson. If they do that, that's more pressure on the Denver Broncos. And rookie quarterback Justin Herbert came in and said, you know what? No OTAs, no offseason, a new OC. I don't care. I'm going to go out and I'm going to break rookie records. So it puts immense amount of pressure on the Denver Broncos to get this quarterback situation correct this offseason.
Yeah, if they go with Drew Lock, no more dancing after a touchdown in week 7, Tom Brady has won 7 Super Bowls. I haven't seen him dance yet. There's an intense focus. There's a preparation. There's such a commitment. There's a report, Tom Brady texted all his teammates the last 2 weeks, we will win. I mean, the commitment and preparation to winning that he has, and, Patrick Mahomes is just such a winner. You got to step it up mentally also at that quarterback position.
Well, before the big game, we learned that a pair of former Broncos had been elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll relive some of our favorite moments from the legendary careers of Peyton Manning and John Lynch on the other side of the break.
The main thing I want them to know is how much fun I had on this football journey. I've enjoyed every part of it. And, look, everybody would say, yeah, if I could win every game, that'd be great. It's just not reality. But the friendships and relationships that I made in this football journey, that's been my greatest takeaway. It's not a game. It's not a throw. It has been the people that have been a part of it. And that's teammates, coaches, of course, my family. Grew up in a football family. That's the equipment managers, the video directors, the fans. I was really lucky to play for 2 great organizations, the Irsay family and the Bolin family. So I guess that's what I'd want them to know is how much I enjoyed it, how grateful I am. I was lucky to play with a lot of players that loved football like I did, loved to work hard. And when you have a lot of guys in common like that, you have a chance to have pretty good teams.
A 2-time Super Bowl champion, a 5-time MVP, a 14-time Pro Bowler, and now a first ballot Hall of Famer. Peyton Manning, arguably the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, will be enshrined forever in Canton this August. And I have a feeling Broncos country will show up in droves to celebrate the Sheriff. Guys, the list of Peyton's contributions to the game is a mile long. But what was the most significant way Peyton Manning changed the game of football?
I think he brought the offense to the line of scrimmage, pre-snap. There was, they talk about this college offense and the NFL finally adapting to it. Well, Peyton Manning's been operating from the line of scrimmage forever. I mean, he looks at the defense and then changes the play call. That and his, the maniacal preparation that he had. Tom Brady, everyone talks about his preparation and focus. Peyton Manning had that times 3. It's just that his body broke down before Tom Brady's did. It just shows you that the game is still played from the pocket, but he would throw them open. They weren't open when he threw the ball, but by the time the receivers caught it, they were open by 5 yards. He had that going, and just the way he adjusted the offense at the line of scrimmage.
And to Mike's point, most quarterbacks and offenses before Peyton Manning, and really still now, are, hey, run, pass, check, pass, or pass, check, run. There's one of two options. Well, Peyton was the first quarterback to say, well, I like this third option. I'm going to do that. And it would be successful, so coaches couldn't argue with them. And that's how he changed the game at the line of scrimmage. The fake snap counts, that all came from Peyton Manning. That really wasn't even a thought process for many offenses early on.
Well, it was as only defensive guy here on this panel, I can speak honestly about this. He changed the game because he forced, teams to draft certain ways to kind of stop the offensive weapons. And Peyton was one of those type of quarterbacks. He understood his limitations. He knew that he wasn't a mobile quarterback. So like Klis said, it was about ball placement. And what he did with his offensive line and his wide receivers, he really pushed them to the brink. He was definitely a perfectionist. Like we've heard the stories about, Michael Jordan. Peyton Manning was that same type of player. And there's a reason why he's going into Canton this year.
Ryan, as someone who won a Lombardi trophy with Peyton Manning, can you tell us what it is about Peyton Manning, the person, the teammate, that just makes him so special to work with?
Well, a few stories real quick. One, he was always in his workout gear before the 7 a.m. lift, in his car, waiting for everybody to get in there. He was just always prepared. He practiced fumbled snaps in between bench press reps. And then, oh, by the way, he was warming up one day and I went streaking down the left hash mark with my hand up and he dropped it right in my breadbasket. He had fun. He never apologized for how different it looked, the level he prepared, what he was thinking about. He would ask 5 questions in a 35-minute meeting, but he also had fun. And that's a piece I think a lot of people miss. And you got to see that with Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. How about that when he holds up that trophy? You still got to have fun. And as hard as Peyton worked, as much as he showed what he thought about the game, he always made sure we as a team had fun. And that's what made him so great.
Klis, as someone who covered him, what did you see that made him so special?
I'll throw this back at Ryan. One of the most spine-tingling moments in covering the Broncos was that final game in 2015 when Peyton came off the bench. He had been hurt for the 7 games before that with the foot. And the Broncos were kind of teetering as to what kind of team they were. Still a real good team, but there were a lot of doubts about them going into the postseason. Peyton Manning came off the bench in the second half. The crowd went nuts. Ryan, a little giddy up in the step. Something happened in that huddle because all of a sudden the offense started moving the ball to win that game. By winning it, you get the number 1 seed. You get home field advantage through the playoffs. Peyton had one last hurrah in the playoffs and had big throws against Pittsburgh, big throws to Owen Daniels against New England in the AFC Championship game. Peyton's best year was not 2015, but the Broncos don't win that Super Bowl without him.
You guys, I asked Peyton what he would rank as the number 1 play or moment from his Hall of Fame career. And he said he's kind of a weird guy. He'd probably choose some like 2nd and 5 play that he drew up, which is just so on brand for Peyton Manning. But if you had to choose, what would you rank as your favorite Manning moment?
For me, I'd go with it would be somewhere in 2013 when he broke the passing record, 51. I think it was to Julius Thomas to break the record against Houston. And by the way, it's amazing. He thought all his records would be broken the next year, still standing, the 55 touchdowns and the 5,477 yards in 2013. But I would say it was maybe that third. It was like 3rd to 16 to Benny Fowler against the Steelers in that playoff game. He had just enough mustard. I think he threw an 82-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm not sure he could have thrown it that fast again, but he got it just in time, and Broncos went on to win that game.
Right. Yeah, I think when he did the naked boot in the Cowboys game, that was a play everybody will remember for Peyton Manning. But also Mike Klis mentioned it, that Steelers game. But to me, you saw who Peyton Manning was when he slipped to moving forward, got off the ground and threw a strike to Emmanuel Sanders for a huge first down in that game. That's the type of player Peyton was. He was never down, even when he hit the turf, and he's proven that time and time again.
Well, I would have to agree with what Ryan brought up, because we don't know Peyton as being, somewhat of a mobile quarterback once again. But that play fake against Dallas, I watched the game. Even I was fooled. I thought he handed the ball off, but he did a great job, getting that ball into the end zone. But that was the type of person that Peyton Manning was and still is as a quarterback, the ability to go out and motivate your teammates. And what Klis said, I thought was real important on that Super Bowl 50 run when, Peyton came in for Brock Osweiler. It was a lot of controversy associated with that move. But just like Klis said, once the sheriff came into the huddle, it was like all the tension is up, ears are up, guys were perked up, and they were ready to go.
Well, still to come on Broncos Beat, the 8th time was the charm for legendary Bucs and Broncos safety John Lynch. More on his Hall of Fame career after the break.
John Lynch was a guy that changed his position, as did Steve and certainly Peyton. But boy, they're just great human beings. And I know that there's a lot of times I've had to call John Lynch and tell him, hey, not this year, maybe next year. All three of those guys, I think, will soon be there. And that's an incredible representation for the Broncos, along with the others that they have had. And what's exciting is I think those guys are going to get that gold jacket and go do great things with it. I know John will.
For 7 straight years, John Lynch received a call from David Baker on Selection Saturday. This year, he finally received the recognition he deserves after his outstanding career in the league. 9 Pro Bowls, 1 Super Bowl ring, and an absolute champion in the community. Can you guys put it into perspective just how deserving John Lynch is of this gold jacket?
Yeah, the Broncos got a different type of safety than Lynch was with Tampa Bay, who's almost more of a linebacker. He played so much in the box. That 2005 season, he was just tremendous. But he was here 4 years, 4 Pro Bowls, I should say, which wound up in the Ring of Fame. He was so much more than that. He was I always thought that Lynch could have ran for office. He had that senatorial presence with the team. And what he did off the field, he definitely was deserving, and he deserved to be in the Ring of Fame with the Broncos.
He was always moving, being his team. He was there my rookie year at the Broncos, and he was my welcome to the NFL moment. He's, hey, Ryan, how are you? Like, oh, my God, that's John Lynch. But he just revolutionized that safety position. He brought a toughness to that position that hadn't been seen for a little bit, and he was able to do it for different teams. And to bring joy to multiple fan bases, that's a Hall of Famer.
Klis, you mentioned that he was a Pro Bowler in each of his 4 seasons here, and I do feel like that's something that people forget sometimes. So, Nick, what was it that John Lynch brought to the secondary here in Denver?
Well, it was similar to what Ryan and Klis said about Peyton Manning and bringing a certain type of leadership and ownership and accountability in our room. And for me, I'm very fortunate and blessed. 2 of the guys that I played with are now going to be in the Hall of Fame. And that's kind of what our room was like. It was accountability, responsibility. And I've said it before, anytime that John made a play, that meant that I had to make 3. So John wasn't going to be outdone by me. So it forced him to make more plays, which forced our secondary to be that much better. But it was about accountability. It was about having fun. But when we went out there to play, it was about being physical and making sure our opponent really felt us in the fourth quarter.
When you think back on some of the most physical, big hitters of the game, John Lynch would rank pretty high on that list. But Nick, you were in meeting rooms with him. What impressed you about his mental approach to the game?
Well, John was a smart guy. I mean, he's a Stanford guy. And once again, if you know those Stanford guys, they're always thinking. They're always thinking about the next move like it was chess. And John was the same way. I sat right next to John, and Champ sat in front of me. And it was all about, okay, well, what can we do against this week's opponent to make sure that they don't get into the end zone? And we played the Buffalo Bills and Ralph Wilson Stadium at that time. And Marshawn Lynch was the Buffalo Bills running back. So John had the unfortunate, unfortunate misfortune, whatever you want to say, of hitting Marshawn for the first time. And he came to me directly after that. He was just like, listen, we're going to have to hit this dude, because if we don't, he's going to get stronger as the game went on. But those were the type of things that John was able to do to kind of rally us in the time of need to kind of get us all to play together. So I'm happy that he finally got his validation and now he's a Hall of Famer.
Klis, before we go, do you have a favorite John Lynch moment or memory that comes to mind?
Yeah, it was, he came on the blitz. Nick, you came on the blitz on the Tom Brady pass on the end zone where Darrent Williams and Champ Bailey did the switch, and Bailey took it 100 yards to the pylon.
Right.
And then the Broncos came on. That was the biggest play of the game. I think they call it the zero blitz. You guys know that better than I do.
Right.
But that and his hit on Drew Brees, which wound up getting Brees hurt in his final game for the Chargers. Those are the two that I remember the most.
Ryan, anything that comes to mind?
Just how hard he hit. I mean, that Drew Brees hit. I mean, think about this. You hit someone so hard they need surgery. And then John Lynch just got up. So that's John Lynch in a nutshell.
Unbelievable. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. That is all the time we have for this week's edition of Broncos Beat, but we will see you all same time, same place next Monday.